Hi, I'm Gary Sutton, and welcome to another edition of Shipley Energy Exchange. And in this room, there's a lot of energy today here because Will Muller, commercial sales manager, is here with us, and he brings a lot of energy to the table this morning. Will, great to see you. How you
Gary,
doing?
nice to meet you.
Great to have you aboard, but you've got something very specific for us here today on our Energy Exchange. For someone who is unfamiliar, and you're looking at one who is, what exactly is a tank monitor, and why is it beneficial?
Sure. So once again, Gary, thanks for having me in today to talk about this. Tank monitors are a critical component to the business. And for anyone who operates a business needing fuel, propane, powering their business and so forth, checking tank levels at any time of the day is a hassle. It takes time out of their day. So, these are not new to the market. They've been around for several decades and they continue to iterate and get better as the years go on. But what a tank monitor is essentially inventory management. So as opposed to having to go out, check your tank levels and see, well, do I need a delivery? Do I need to call my supplier to get fuel? This automatically dispatches out to the dispatch team, said, hey, these guys need a delivery, and goes from there, mitigating extra time spent in the field, the guys getting tied up looking at tank levels and so forth.
Now, what are the types of businesses, Will, that would most benefit from having tank monitoring remotely?
Sure. Really anybody. So if any customer is using fuel and want to have a little bit more efficiency in their operations, either Shipley or any other supplier, generally speaking, can supply a tank monitor for their business. And so that could go anywhere from agriculture. Right now we're heading into grain drying season for farmers. And those guys tend to use a lot of juice in a very short period of time. So with not having fuel in tank means the crop can't get dried, and that's not a good thing. So that will help mitigate those instances.
For operations groups that are, juggling a lot of different responsibilities, do a lot of multitasking, how does it make life easier for them and, make sure they can do those other responsibilities well and at the same time do this?
Sure. As in any business, time is money. And if there's a way to become more cost effective in how they run their operations, and if that's through the part of a tank monitor, then that's a great way to help out. So as far as these savings and efficiencies are concerned, is your guys don't have to check their tank levels before the end of the day. Say a big construction site is moving through a lot of fuel. This will tell us exactly when to deliver versus having to stop jobs, wait for fuel to get to on site. This is just a continuous improvement of efficiency.
In your experience, can you name one specific example of a business that really benefited from tank monitoring?
Yeah, absolutely. Most recently, we've been tapping into the towing and emergency vehicle market. And right here, local to the York market here, there was a family-run towing company that we started, talking to, and they, being their 24/7 operation, were either fueling on the road, trying to get fuel when they needed it. But the idea of having tanks at their shop, a monitor to tell us when to deliver, so that way they can come back, top off their tanks, and hit the road for the next job was incredible. And for them, as a growing company, taking one thing off of their already busy plate really made a difference for them, and they've been having great success with it so far.
We're talking with Will Muller this morning, commercial sales manager here at Shipley Energy. Well, when it comes to tank monitoring, what measurable cost savings could be expected? I mean, does it change the way that businesses will budget for energy costs?
Sure. There's a budgeting component to it, but I also don't want to say that it's like a hard number that if you do a tank monitor, it's going to save you X. The thing that I'd like to say is there's an operational and time efficiency savings with tank monitors and also on-site fueling. So as opposed to having businesses have their drivers sent to, say, Sheetz or gas stations or something like that, they're not only waiting in line, at the pump to fill their stuff up. They're burning company time to wait, and then there could be an insurance liability there too. So, coupled with on-site fueling and a tank monitor, that the business owner now can see what they have in-house. They can monitor that through inventory management systems that compare really well with tank monitors. And they know what their guys are doing at the beginning or the end of the day. So they can set the schedules like, hey, when you guys come in, fill your tanks up so that way tomorrow morning we do morning scrum and we get out and go. And a lot of businesses have been seeing a lot of success with that.
How can tank monitoring avoid stressful situations and emergency rush kind of fees that come up during the course of the year, particularly you think about in winter a lot of
Yeah.
times.
And being that we're in the Northeast, we get snow. And
Right.
fortunately for us, we had some snow last year. But one of the things we always like to tell our customers, and this is both for residential, for commercial customers, and even our wholesale division, is if you guys have a tank monitor on your tank, you're going to get priority delivery. So for folks that are, just calling in for a delivery and say there's inclement weather coming in, they may not get the delivery off the bat. Whereas monitors put you in line to say, hey, they need fuel, it's critical, and we don't want to have you guys run out. So it's a really good cost savings there.
When it comes to tank monitoring, are there a lot of infrastructure changes that you have to make? And if so, how long does it take to install, and who handles that part?
It's very easy. You would think something like this would be pretty involved to implement. But for on the fuel side of the business, so we're talking diesel and gasoline, this is what this monitor is for here. And it's solar powered, so it faces the sun, so there's no batteries or anything, everything is internal. And this piece here is called a pressure sensor, so it basically reads the pressure in the tank, and that's what tells us to go for delivery. But for fuel tanks, there's usually a couple available ports on top of the tank. You unscrew the one port, you screw this in, put the pressure sensor, and it's ready to roll.
Wow.
The newer versions that this company has come out with are a little bit smaller, but effectively are the same premise of how to operate. And then for propane, it looks a little different, but again, premise is exactly the same and doesn't take all that much to install.
They still look pretty manageable too, as far as being able to put those in there and install them and get them going.
Absolutely. A lot of times if customers own their own tanks, we'll ship it directly to them, and all they just need is a big wrench to take off the top and ready to roll.
So how does this tank monitoring improve the customer and the employee experience in the long run?
Sure. Just save them time and hassle. As I mentioned, construction companies, landscapers, guys who are constantly on the move this time of year, worrying about looking at their tank levels, wondering if they need to call their supplier, maybe even waiting on a phone queue to get a hold of somebody. This circumvents all of that. And, when they're out there moving and grooving, they're making money. And so long as they have fuel at the end of the day or the beginning of the day, that I think their business is going to be well run.
Well, sometimes you come into some real emergency situations where people are really up against it in a moment. And there's one situation I heard you talk about a little bit about birds, but it happened last year in a cold time of the year. Tell us a little bit about that specific example and what you were able to do to help that person.
Sure. As a company, we deal with a lot of agriculture, and it's mission critical that those farmers and businesses have the fuel that they need to operate. So back earlier this year, if you all remember, we had the major cold snap, and cold means going through a lot of propane. And this particular individual had small birds in his barns, and those barns need to be kept between 95 and 100 degrees at all times when they're little. He called us in a panic that his supplier couldn't get to him in time. So we were able to not only get him set up within a day, but also get him the supply he needed to make sure, A, that his birds are kept warm during that cold time. And we also hooked him up with the tank monitors, so that way, going forward in an emergency situation, that doesn't happen to him again. And that, for him, was a huge sigh of relief. And knowing that he can call in, knowing, hey, is everything good? Is it dispatch? Have you guys received a delivery? We're taken care of.
Well, sometimes you're in the middle of nowhere, and people would ask the question, well, does that still work? And if so, how's that go?
Yeah. A couple weeks ago, we actually just set up a job site, again, north of here, and it's quite frankly in the middle of nowhere.
Okay.
And I had to drive over some mud flaps to get to the job site to drop some stuff off. So to the point of, will these pieces of equipment work? Absolutely. They are powered by the sun, so the battery is charged through solar, and it's done through a cell signal. So long as there's enough satellite and cell to get to talk to us, we're good to go. And I know for job sites, you never know where they're going to be. There's a lot of individuals who have farms kind of out in the middle of nowhere. They will all work depending on where you're at.
Have you had reaction by people who've had these so far compared to the normal experience before? Tell me a little bit about that.
Sure. A few months ago, we started working with a site developer up a little bit north of here, and they had never heard of anything like this before, and realized our tank came outfitted with it, and they were like, this is the best thing in the world. Like, I don't have to look at my tanks. I have fuel all the time. My guys don't have to worry about it. And over the years, it's been fascinating to see still folks, have that aha moment of, wow, these are actually really cool. It can save me a lot of time.
You talk about years. Let's look ahead here, Will. 5 years from now, you're talking to a business owner. What role will the tank monitor have played by that particular point in time,
Yeah.
in your opinion?
So one of the benefits is, as with most technologies, there's always improvements. And as I alluded to before, there is another version of this exact tank monitor. And that's just a testament to this company figuring out better ways to do this. And you would think, oh, it's just a tank monitor, but it's longer battery life, extended time frames, et cetera, et cetera. But talking in the future, I think everybody that we're doing business with, will have a tank monitor like this. And I'm talking all product lines that we have. And again, that helps our operational team out. It helps our sales and delivery teams out. But it also, again, it helps the customers out because they're not relying on, oh, I forgot to check my tank today. There's snow coming. What's going to happen? These are the little tools that make a huge impact for businesses.
Well, they've certainly made an impact immediately because I didn't know anything about them, but I'll tell you what, that's something I would sign up for. And again, another example of Shipley Energy fueling smarter and tank monitoring that pays off here. Will, thanks so much for joining
Gary,
us today.
thank you again. Appreciate it.
A real pleasure, and thanks to Shipley Energy, who's out there working for you all the time, making fueling and making things like the tank monitor here help to make your life a little bit better. I'm Gary Sutton. Until next time.